only 3% of us here in North America will actually utilize the information we've been taught. 3%. So if you think about that, you're already in the top 3% just by taking action. So how hard does it get to the top 1% of wealth if you're one of the 3% that takes action? You're already ahead of 97% of the people. And I understand people get tired, and I understand that they have so much on their plate, but that's why I love to teach people time management systems that free up a ton of time as well.
Hello and welcome to the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. We're here to help you navigate life while disrupting the status quo. Our discussions cover a number of topics relevant to everyday life. We discuss everything from relationships to entrepreneurship. We also engage in some difficult but important conversations. And now, here are your hosts, Brian and Tanya Hamilton.
Welcome to the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. Today we're joined by Robert Riopel. Robert, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here with the two of you because I know we're going to have some fun. So that's, this is a highlight for the day.
Awesome. Well, we'll take it. We try to make it fun. And if we can be the highlight of your day, that means I've accomplished something that's made my day. All right. Now we'll start off by getting to know a bit more about you. And we'll do that by asking, who is Robert Riopel?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'm a person that believes there's way too many serious people on this planet. And so I love to do whatever I can to help people have a happier day. And so I am an app designer. I am an international best-selling author, serial entrepreneur. And the thing I think I love the most to be known for is I've been blessed to travel around the world several times doing live trainings, 3 to 5 days long at a time for over 500,000 people so far, and getting to live my passion. And as you see, I've got an interesting backdrop right now because this weekend I just finished doing a 2-day powerful training, translated 3 languages simultaneously, where I had 300 people from Asia and Europe on, where it was 9 hours a day, me in front of this camera teaching this way. And for a guy who's used to being able to walk around the stage, go down in the audience, it was so hard to keep my feet planted right where they are right now, I got to tell you.
Oh, that would be a big difference.
Yeah. And out of the 9 hours of training, it was a 10-minute break, then a 20-minute meal break, and then a 10-minute break. But luckily the trainings I do very interactive. So a lot of the breakout rooms being used and putting people in groups, 350 people into 35 breakout rooms, doing a lot of processes. So it was just a lot of fun to take something I usually do for 5 days in a camp setting in Malaysia, Spain, or North America, and doing it 2 days on Zoom. It was like, wow.
Yeah, no, I bet. Now, we do want to unpack that and talk about the type of training that you do, but I want to kind of go back even farther than that and talk about the journey. Now,
yeah,
one thing that sticks out for me, obviously you're a guy who puts in a lot of work. Like even just what you described is quite the undertaking, but it's always been that way. So, my dad was someone who worked really hard as well. That was one thing I learned from him, was his work ethic. But where our paths kind of cross is that he delivered pizzas as one of his first jobs when we came to Ontario. It was, there'd be times where he would get in the wrong uniform to go to work because he was working a couple of different jobs and getting very little sleep. But you delivered pizzas as well. So yeah, let's take a look at your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Here I am, taught here in Central Alberta, work hard. Once you find a job that is taking care of you, secure, even if you don't like it, you do it because that's how you provide for your family. And here I am, I'm 21 years old, just turned 21. I'm still a newlywed. And all of a sudden I'm getting laid off from the third job, the third real job, if you want to call them such a thing. I walk into work to find out they're shutting down the factory I'm working in. And here in Alberta, when oil prices are down, there's no work, especially back in the late 80s. And I'm stressed out like, okay, I need a real job. I did the suit, the tie, looked for that real job, couldn't find it. And I'm newly married, so I want to take care of my wife. So I decided to do something until I found the job, and I end up delivering pizzas for Domino's Pizza. Because I had done several kind of other deliveries before, younger, but this one in the uniform, only working for them, doing Domino's Pizza. And pretty soon I actually started making more money than my real job because at 21, I was the old guy. I was the old guy that was training or that was driving. See, all the other drivers were 17, 18 and they wanted to party. So I knew I could get them to give me their closing shifts. All I had to say was, didn't you have a party or you want to do something tonight? Yeah, well, I could close for you if you really want. And it's that work ethic because I wanted to have, a better life. And all of a sudden, next thing I'm able to become a manager and my wife becomes my assistant. We do what we're taught to do. We started working hard, open to close 7 days a week. Did that for about a year and a half when we got that news. Our franchisee comes up and says, I'm getting out of Domino's Pizza. I'm selling my 2 stores. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, here we go again. I knew the first thing that happens when a store gets sold, the managers get let go because the new owners want to come in with their own team to turn the store to the next level. And so it's not just me about to lose a job, it's me and my wife. And there's our entire income. So I'm freaked out. And my responsibility or my response is we got to get a hold of the other franchisees here in Calgary, because we lived there at the time, and find a store we can manage. And my wife looks at me and she goes like, why would we do that? We're qualified to be franchisees. Why don't we buy the store? And I'm like, because we don't have any money. That's why we don't buy the store. Like, hello, right? But thank goodness my wife, I was taught to be an in the box thinker. Here's the box. Don't question the box. This is the way it is. My wife, youngest of 5, raised by a single mother, she was taught what box? And it's like, let's figure out a way. And so we decided, okay, let's see if we can buy a business if we have no money. And we started learning, trying things, and we made a lot of mistakes. Oh my goodness. And today I am not afraid to make a mistake, because that's where some of the greatest learning lessons come from. And in about 4 months of making mistakes, we ended up learning enough of what to say and what not to say. We actually ended up not buying the store we were in. We ended up getting 100% financing for both the stores my franchisee had for sale, and we became franchisees. And it's like, oh, we're now successful. We're franchisees. Can't touch this. No, right? And that's awesome, but there's a problem. We knew how to run a Domino's Pizza. We didn't know how to run a business. And there's a world of difference between the two. And you talk about fake it till you make it. For the first 2 years, we just sheer tenacity. When we finally, because one of our beliefs was, we can't afford an accountant. We don't need an accountant. We'll do the books ourselves. Wrong answer. We're already working 7 days a week, open to close. When did we have time to go and do our accounting? And all of a sudden when, CRA is knocking on the door going, hello, you're a business. You haven't done paperwork in a couple of years. You need to get caught up. We bit the bullet, hired an accountant, and the accountant's got everything in order. And all of a sudden they're looking at us going, how did you two make it this long? There's no way you should have stayed in business. Here was our running rule of thumb. If there's money in the bank account, we must be doing okay. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen, that's not the way to run a business. Believe me. But we learned, here we were 23 when we bought the stores. And as soon as we got things figured out and we started doing better, we started making pretty good money. But also one of our beliefs, though, and I'm about to shock the two of you, because you've probably never heard of this ever happening. We started spending more money than we were earning.
No.
I hope you don't think any less of me for that, right? And by the time we were franchisees for 8 years, here we are over $150,000 personally in debt, going down quickly and stressed out beyond belief. Because I've never experienced stress nearly as bad as financial stress, being in that position. And we knew something had to change. And that's when we were introduced to personal development. We were invited to go to an evening. From that evening, we paid $600 that we did not have, that we could not afford, to go to a 3-day weekend, because something just felt right that our life was about to change. But what's funny is that was in March of 2001. The training wasn't until June. So all of a sudden, out of the energy of the evening, we went through buyer's remorse. We went through all that crap. And the only reason we showed up at the 3-day training was to get our money back. And we're ready. We're like, come on, tell me I can't get my refund. We're ready for a fight. It's like, I'll show you how good I've been boxing. And they knew what was going on in our mind. And they said, look, there's nothing I can do right now, but come in for the first part. And at the first break, lunch, I'll have answers. My wife hadn't even come in from the vehicle. We still had our RV hooked up to the back of our vehicle. We had just come back from a trip in the US, and we were just going to go get our money back and head back to Calgary. And so I walk out and I'm like, honey, and she's like, what? I said, here's what's going on. And she's like, fine. And we know what fine stands for. So anyway, we both go in. By the time lunch comes, the woman comes to find us, says, oh, there you are. Let's talk about your refund. Well, now we're back in the energy and we're already going, oh my God, I'm so glad we're here. We're like, we don't want a refund. Get away from us. What are you talking about? Do you know anybody that flip-flops like this? I don't know, right? And I'll tell you that weekend changed our life, because we first understood why we were in debt, why we were our spending habits and all that. Second, but most importantly, we took responsibility. Quit blaming other people for our debt. Well, they lost this investment. It's because of them that this happened. And we took ownership of that. And then when we left, we decided to take action and putting into practice what we had learned. Next thing you know, we go from being over $150,000 in personal debt to retired, completely financially free 9 months later at the age of 32. And our mind went, wow, that worked. If this information gave us that result, what would more do? And that's when we took an even deeper dive into personal development. I found my passion was to be a trainer. And that was in 2002. I started that journey. By 2004, I had led a few trainers as an assistant and a co-trainer. And then 2004, I led my very first training on my own. And now 500,000 plus students later, the rest, they say, is history.
Wow.
That's the long, short version.
I was going to say there was so much in that, but I guess the biggest thing I know I'm thinking, so I'm sure others are thinking, is how did you go from 150 in debt to being retired in 9 months?
And I think the thing too that you mentioned was you figured out why you were in debt, which I'm sure was kind of a catalyst to getting out of debt. So
Yes.
Can we start there? After you went through all this, what was the determination as to, what led to those habits, why you were in debt?
Yeah. First of all, I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're franchisees. We're business owners. That means a status. And so we wanted the toys. And there's a difference between what you want and what you need, really. Yes. And so we had a lot of expenses. One of our stores was just outside of Kelowna, BC. So we're on a lake. Our house, which was AKA a trailer in a trailer park, was on the lake. So we had to have a boat. Now, the funny thing is our busy season for that store was boating season. So our boat sat in the driveway looking nice and never got used. But hey, we had a boat with all the expenses, right? I could come home at night, get up in the trailer, sit in the boat and go, oh yeah, I got a boat. Right? And so when we understood that it was our buying habits, we had so many expenses. And what we learned at the weekend is that there's a definition of financial freedom. Financial freedom is when your passive income, something we didn't even know what that was. And for those who may have never heard of it, money working for you instead of you having to work for money. When your passive income is greater than your expenses, you are technically financially free. So because we didn't know what passive income was, we had none, and our expenses were huge, we were in a world of danger and a world of hurt. But so when we came home, to go to your side of the question, is that when we came home, we said, what don't we need right now? Sure, it'd be nice to have it. And we took an aggressive look and we decided that it was time to downsize. So first thing, easy one, boat, gone, sold it. All the expenses gone with it. We had 2 vehicles because as successful people, if you have success, you have 2 vehicles. We were both working 7 days a week together. We only needed 1 vehicle, but we had 2. So we sold one of the vehicles, got rid of the expenses. And because we were willing to take that hard look at it, and I'm going to tell people it's not easy. Success is not easy. It's simple if you know what to do and you follow the systems, but you actually have to put the work behind it. So we aggressively sold off things and got rid of expenses we did not need. And yeah, there was temporary pain for that. Fine. But at the same time, we are now looking at, now that we understood what a passive income was, we ended up coming across 2 passive incomes that quickly started making us a return. And all of a sudden, within 9 months, the 2 of them surpassed each other. And this is a clarification for your audience. Some people, they think when I tell the story, they go, oh my God, you went from $150,000 to debt-free and rich in 9 months? No, that's not what I said. I said we were financially free. See, we still had bills, we still had expenses, we still had debt, but we had enough passive income. And for those listening, I'm using my hands because I'm part French, I talk with my hands. And we had enough passive income to service those debts, which means if we didn't want to work, we didn't have to.
Right.
And here's the magic. And here's what I want your listeners to get from this is we were working 60, 70, 80 hours a week just to earn a living up to that point. Right. So imagine, because I am aerodynamic, imagine I'm a genie in front of you and I say, poof, I'm going to give you 50 hours a week more to do with whatever you want to do. Now, that time freedom, do you think you'd be able to create a pretty half decent life for yourself if you had that time freedom and not worried and stressed out about expenses, right? See, that was the big win for us. We went from being stressed out 60, 70, 80 hours a week, earning a living, to all of a sudden now we didn't have to work. Our expenses were being covered. And it's now, what do we do with this time? And there's a universal principle that I teach: that which you focus on expands, law of attraction. So we decided to take 10 hours a week. And some people go, I wish I had 10. Remember, we just freed up 40, 50, 60.
Mhm.
So giving 10, not a big deal. And we said, we're going to commit 10 hours a week to creating wealth. And all of a sudden, wealth creation became so easy. So my message to your listeners: don't go for rich. Get yourself financially free first, which will free up your time. And now you'll have the energy. You'll have the, you're not going to go to bed tired going, oh, right, I was supposed to do all this other stuff to get wealth. You now wake up in the morning going, I don't have to go to work today. What am I going to do? I'm going to go and create wealth. And you can make it fun. How much easier it is to have wealth come into your life.
Mm-hmm. And one other thing to go with that is, I know a lot of people think, oh, this can't happen to me because I'm in my 20s, or even my early 30s, right? But you saying, look at your age. I mean, I think we made not so good decisions in our 20s, especially when it came to finances, and you learn as you go. And now, like, in a way better spot. But you sharing your story it is something you can do really at any age, right?
Yeah. Well, and absolutely. And what was funny is in Red Deer, and I don't know if you guys, because you're Canadian, you'll know that we like to do our Winter Olympics, right? And Canada had our Winter Games here in Red Deer just 2 years ago. And my wife and I took the whole month of February off to volunteer. And this is where we grew up, was in this area. We moved away for work, and then we took us 27 years to come back. And so here we are volunteering. And I'm talking to a guy. I'm working in the car pool, the motor pool. So our job is, we've got like 98 vehicles, and anytime an official needs to be taken from a venue or to the hotel, we would do that. And so lots of time sitting and talking to other drivers. And I'm talking to this guy, and I love to get to know people. And we're talking, and all of a sudden he's like, wait, back up. He goes, where did you do that 3-day training? I said, over at the Western Grounds. He goes, in 2001. I said, yeah. He says, I was in your class. I said, oh, were you? And then he goes, you mean to tell me if I'd actually done something with what I learned that weekend, I could probably be where you are today instead of stressed out for these lots? I'm like, dude, you said it. And this is one of the biggest differences. People don't take action. Look, the unfortunate statistic is only 3% of us here in North America will actually utilize the information we've been taught. 3%. So if you think about that, you're already in the top 3% just by taking action. So how hard does it get to the top 1% of wealth if you're one of the 3% that takes action? You're already ahead of 97% of the people. And I understand people get tired, and I understand that they have so much on their plate, but that's why I love to teach people time management systems that free up a ton of time as well. So
I was going to say too, we've done a few discussions with people where we talked about passive income as well. And there's lots of ways to generate passive income. If you don't mind sharing, what was your approach in the beginning?
It was like, if that looks good, let's throw a dart at it and learn about it. And so, but today I teach people, find something that's in alignment with what you like, what you enjoy. So if you like real estate, then decide to do something with real estate, because again, it's going to take work. And if you're just doing something for the money, as soon as it gets tough, you're going to quit.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So if you like real estate, then learn about real estate. If you enjoy crypto, then learn about crypto. If you enjoy stock market, do that, learn about that, because it's not about necessarily what it is that's going to help you. It's which one will you keep going on, even when the work gets, a little bit tiring or boring. Because I'll tell you, there's passive income is boring as hell. It is. I like the return. I like the money, but I'll tell you, as quickly as I can pass it off to an assistant, it's like, and this is a key. See, one of the reasons my wife and I got into debt is because we would sit there and go, oh, that sounds like a good investment because John said it was a good investment. Here's some money. And then we get pissed off when we lose it. Today, I don't do a lot of my own investments, but I know enough. I've done my due diligence, and I know enough that what makes it a good investment or not. And if the person I'm giving the money to knows what they're doing or not, because I'm taking responsibility so that even if they lose it and I get losing investments, I don't want anybody to think I never lose. I get losing investments, but I don't get pissed off at the person. I look at myself and go, okay, what did I miss? What can I do different? And I don't get critical on myself, because when I take the emotion out of investing. There's so many systems, and if you follow the system, you can get the results. But so many people, when they put their emotions into it, that's what messes things up. Or I'll do it my way. I can do it better. Sure, you can do better than someone's made $1 billion. You made 5. I got it. There's a reason I'm not listening to you, right? So yeah, follow the systems and find something that you enjoy and allow that to be where you start with passive incomes. Don't chase the money. Chase what you'll have fun with.
Okay. So you talk about the 4 currencies of life.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that all fall into place?
Well, that's my newest work on the new book I'm writing. And it comes from, I love to give credit where credit's due. Didn't start as my work. I have an amazing friend. I nicknamed him years ago the Quantum Monk. And the reason I did is because for 8 years, he actually was a monk, over 15,000 hours of meditation, but he also studies quantum physics. This guy can tell you all about spirituality and back it up with the quantum. It's like he's brilliant. And what he discovered during his research when he was doing a lot of meditation is that there's 4 currencies. And I've seen people talk about different ones, but these are the ones we put into. First currency, the one everybody probably thinks of, money. And when it comes to money, if you have too much money in your life, there's something called affluenza. Too little money is called poverty. And what I've discovered through my research taking on his work is that we all have a zone. And so if you're flowing in that zone, your life has not as much stress. But all of a sudden, if you get close to the bottom, to the poverty level, that's when all of a sudden, oh my God, how are their bills going to be paid? And that extra stress, and then it kind of snowballs. But if you get too high, why it's called affluenza, you know you're in affluenza when you start doing silly things with your money because you've got so much of it. Like, oh, that sounds like a great investment. Here's a couple $100,000, and toss it at it and not worry about, whether it's a good investment or not. Probably the greatest example I love to use of affluenza. There was a prince somewhere in the UAE when they brought out the A380 plane, the 2-level plane. He decided he wanted to have one personally. So he spent $1 billion to buy one. Then he spent $100 million remodeling it to be his party plane. I can think of a lot better things to do with $1.1 billion. I don't know about you, right? That's a classic case, but putting it into everyday people, because we're not all princes and princesses here, right? When I was in Domino's Pizza for my wife and I, our zone, because everybody understand your zones will be different.
Right.
And as you change, your zone will change depending on your circumstances. So when we had our Domino's Pizza stores, our poverty level was about 40,000. If we started to get anywhere close to that or less, we were stressed out. And that was combined income. Our affluenza level was about 100,000. Anytime we went over 100,000 for the year, we started doing silly things. And so that was our zone. Now today, because I like my lifestyle, I have a different mindset. I, created a lot of things around the world. Mm-hmm. My poverty level is about 200,000 a year. Because if anything less than that, I get stressed out because I still have bills. I still have expenses. Mm-hmm. So all my investments in that, I still need about that. And my affluenza level is about $1 million a year. As soon as I start making over $1 million a year, my wife knows because she's like, you're not buying that. I get this first. and we always have fun with that. So our level has, adjusted with our lifestyle.
For sure.
So people might ask, how do I know where my currency level is? Just pay attention. You'll know when you're stressing, and you'll know when you start doing silly things. And it's not like, oh, it's at $82,756. That's my affluenza level. It's not that specific. You don't have to try and figure it out. Just kind of know roughly where you are. So that's the first currency. Any questions on that one?
No, that makes sense.
Okay. Second currency is the one that we all have the exact same amount of, which is time, the currency of time. And too much time on your hand, boredom. I don't know what to do. Too little time is stress. And this is where, especially for business owners, parents, single parents, they get stressed out because they never have enough time. And what I've noticed in doing the research is people are really, really good at being busy, but they're not necessarily being productive. Mm-hmm. And again, there's a world of differences there.
For sure.
And so you have to understand how to really on my calendar. When my wife and I do our calendar, there's something that we put on our calendar first before anything else. And that's called our pamper pieces. That's from my 4 phases of life. And that's, they say in wealth rule number 1, pay yourself first. So if you're doing that with money, why wouldn't you do that with time? But what do most people do? They give, if they have time left over, then they'll do something for themselves. No, we put it on our calendar first. time for each other, time for ourselves, time for family, holidays, that goes on the calendar first because that's important.
Right.
Those are the pieces that allow you then to do the work when you have to buckle down and get it done. The second thing I put on is what's called focus time. And again, people are really good at being busy. I could come into my office here and go, okay, time to work on the new book. 8 hours later, I walk out and I'm like, man, was I busy? And I look, I'm like, but it doesn't seem like I did a lot on the book. What was I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I was this much on FaceTime and I was doing instant messages. I was doing emails and I wrote a little bit of the book. So that's that trap a lot of people get into. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, 10 to 11. Because if you look at research, if you truly want to know for staying focused, hour maximum. Don't try to book something longer than that without being able to change your state, move around or whatever, because your mind's not going to let you stay focused for more than that. So I might put, okay, 10 to 11, write book. Now, when I come into my office, everything's off. Everybody knows if it's on my calendar as focus time, don't bug me because I'm not going to respond. And in that hour, I can be more productive than 6 hours of being busy. So now I just freed up time. So if you create the habit of actually being productive, watch how much time you can free up to now have with your family, have for yourself to be able to take care of all that. Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure. And it's funny because I thought of something I told the kids one time when we were, rushing to sports and all that kind of stuff, right? And one of them said, oh, we're busy. And I said, you don't want to be busy. You want to be productive, right?
Yeah.
Like it's, you can have your calendar full, but if nothing is really actually getting done at the end of the day, it's all a waste, right? So I totally agree with that timepiece.
Yeah. The other thing too was the focus time, because again, you're concentrating, you're focused. And I know there's been lots of studies on this, but I think it's an average of 17 minutes you lose trying to get back on task if you get distracted by something else.
Right.
So, no, definitely some great insights there.
And the other beautiful part of it too is when you're focused, you're now present with what you're doing.
Right.
Okay, because on my calendar, I had this as focused time to be here with you. And how many times have you been talking to someone and they're there with you, but their mind is somewhere else, right? Because they're thinking about, what about this? What about this? Oh my goodness, did I get that done? And so they're there, but they're not there. And this is a practice of meditation, believe it or not. See, if you want to kind of go into science, and I like to go off rabbit hills and all that, down rabbit holes, but I was doing a 4-day Zen retreat. Now, picture this, the two of you probably going, you in a Zen retreat, 4 days in silence. I don't see it. I think it was the best 4 days my wife had of our whole 32 years of marriage. I got to tell you. And we're doing the Zen retreat. And, in that space, it's easy to sit there, cross your legs, go, and do the meditations. And every night we could actually break silence to ask some questions of our teacher. And this one woman asked a question I had been struggling with. She said, Sherry, she goes, here it's easy. She goes, but when I go at home, I've got business, I've got kids, I got all this stuff. I don't have time to meditate. And her answer changed my life. She simply said, dear, meditation is being present. She said, so anything you're truly present in during the day, you're actually meditating. So if you're driving and you're not just, putting on makeup, eating and, doing all that, but you're actually present driving, you want to see present drivers, go to India. If you're distracted because you're instantly in an accident. They come to this far apart from each other, especially they're weaving in. So you have no choice but to be present. So you're meditating. And so one of the practices I'd start to do is I'd ask myself, how many times during the day can I absolutely be present with what I'm doing? Because I want to meditate as much as I can because it makes me feel amazing meditating. And so busy people, be present with the people you're with. And this is where I'll free up more time for you, especially families. People think success only comes with the family paying the price because I don't have enough time with my family. And I guarantee you, your family will take quality time over quantity time every time. So that if you're there and your children know that when you're with them, not going, yeah, dad just has to take this call. I'll be, you're right. You're actually there with them. They'll appreciate that more. So with the currency of time, it's about really putting your priorities, and it's a practice. It is absolutely a practice. Habit. That's what it takes. And you start off small. Just make one little change. Give yourself 15 minutes for you time and watch what that will do for your life. So that's currency of time in a nutshell. Are you ready for number 3?
Yep.
We
Keep
are.
it coming.
Number 3 is the currency of fame. And especially in today's instant social media age, everybody wants their TikTok to go viral. Everybody wants to be that 15 minutes. I didn't even know what a tick or TikTok was until one of my nieces started going, Uncle, did you see my new TikTok? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, dang, you can do that on I'm like, you got to teach Uncle how to do that. And she goes, you're too old. I'm like, okay, fine. But everybody wants their fame, and we've seen that fame can ruin people. But yet, there's other people that fame doesn't seem to ruin their life. And so what I've come to learn with this one is, who are you? You know, a lot of the instant fame that comes, people haven't been taught to handle it. They think they have to be someone else. You know, they get surrounded by all these people with their hands out. You're making millions now, you know, and let's talk celebrities as an example. Why is it some celebrities can handle it where others can't? And so, you know, I love the example of Jennifer Lopez was being interviewed one time, and the person said, so J-Lo, you know, you're a powerhouse in business. You got actress, you're singer, you're all this, you're dynamic, but your family life, you also have a dynamic family life. How do you keep the two separate? How do you balance that? And her first response was, well, I'm just me. I'm just me. But when I'm in business, I'm J-Lo. That's the persona I take on. I'm J-Lo. I'm here for business. Let's get it done. Let's work it out. She goes, when I'm at home, I'm just Jennifer. To my family, I'm Jennifer. And I instantly adopted that to my life because I'm traveling around the world. I'm in front of hundreds and thousands of people. I have assistants and liaisons that take care of everything. They get my meals. And I actually have to sit there and go, look, I'm okay to go walk to the washroom. It's okay. You don't need to guard me. You know, and look, in some countries, though, you get mobbed trying to go to the bathroom. It's crazy. So you do need bodyguards. But so it's easy to get into the ego of, hey, I'm all that. Look at everybody taking care of me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm home, I'm just Robert or Rob to my family. And a running joke my wife and I have is I'll come home from overseas and she'll go, honey, you're home now. No more assistants. Go take out the garbage. And I'm like,
Keep
two
you
most
down to
important
earth,
words.
level-headed.
Yeah, that's right. Two most important words in a relationship. There's a reason I've been married 32 years. Yes, dear. Two most important words in a relationship. But in all seriousness, you know, could you think if we love having family over and we have a beautiful acreage, we love to sit around the fire pit, go camping, do the same thing. You imagine if I sat down and went, don't you guys know who I am? I'm Robert Raymond Riopel. Go get me a beer. My brothers would clue me in quickly. I ain't all that, right? I'll get you a beer. Come here, right? And so when it comes to fame, it's about being you, but knowing that you are just you.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I'll tell people is I'm no different than anybody else. Maybe I have a little less hair than most people, but I'm the same. I came from the same place. I'm going back to the same place. I have good days. I have bad days, plain and simple. Now, is it possible I may know something someone else doesn't? Absolutely. But isn't it also possible they know something I don't?
Right.
Absolutely. So I look at it and I keep balance by what can I learn from others as I'm helping them at the same time. I love that good exchange of energy, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the currency of fame. And then we're down to number 4. Number 4 is actually the one I spend the most time on, and that's the currency of experience.
Okay.
Are you just existing in life, or are you experiencing life? Are you just, most people, they're like, look, there's a reason the movie or the TV show The Walking Dead came out, because that's most people. Look at Haley Joel Osment. I see dead people. Yeah, I see them everywhere. I see them everywhere because we've tuned ourselves out. One of my students taught me this. I was doing a 5-day training in LA, and it's the last day, and we're all about to go home, and most of us are flying out of LAX. And she was sharing, and she said, yeah, she goes, I just learned, I can't remember how it came up, but the lesson, I use it still today. She goes, when I'm in an airport, she goes, I see dead people. She goes, they're sitting all around me because they're like, whatever's going on in their life, and they're just sitting there. She said, so I've made it a practice that I'll see someone who's a dead person, and I'll go over and I'll sit down beside them and I'll strike up a conversation. And and she says, and I'll just have a conversation until they're having a better day. And she said, then I go up and I find the next dead person. And I thought that was brilliant. And I had 300 students in the audience, and I said, how many of you are flying through LAX tomorrow? And about 200 some odd raised their hands. I said, what if we all go looking for dead people? We show up early for our flights and go looking for dead people. I don't think LAX knew what hit them. And even today, I do the same thing. because here is a perfect place to be able to spread some light. And it's funny, I love watching people because, we've been taught to be distrustful. What's going on? Why would this person do this? And the more we buy into that, the more that will spread. But if we choose to experience an amazing life, so one of the things I like to do, because I fly so much, I get, access to all the lounges, and I usually get certificates from Air Canada that I can give to people. And so I'll just watch, I'll go to the gate I'm going to fly out of early, and I'll go there and I'll watch, and then I'll find someone and I'll walk up and say, hey, I happen to have an extra certificate up to the lounge. Would you like to go up and be able to spend some time, have something to eat and that before the flight? And the biggest look I get is like,
you
what
for
do
real?
want? That's right. Well, no, it's that distrust. Like, why would you do that? What do you want?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll let them know. I say, look, I just have to get you in. After that, I got work to do. You enjoy the lounge. I hate to see it go to waste. And then I give them the certificate, and I'll say, if you want to use it, I'm going to be at the lounge, head that way. If you want to use it, great. If you don't, I have no attachment to it. And unfortunately, most people don't take me up on it. I give out the certificates, but see, so I want to experience life in a way that I can be an example for people, if that makes sense. And it comes down to something as simple as I'm a big believer in dream boards, vision boards. And one of the things a friend of mine taught me, when he's coaching his clients, he'll have them do a vision board right away. And one of his clients one time, he had a Lamborghini. And they're having a conversation. He says, why do you want a Lamborghini? And he's like, 0 to 60 in this, it's got this engine, it's got this. He could tell them everything, all the statistics. And then he asked him a question. He says, well, have you ever experienced riding in one or driving one? And, well, I can't afford it yet. He goes, no. But have you ever gone and rented one, test drove one? No. He says, okay, it's on your board. You know everything about it. He says, here's what I want you to do before our call next week. Go and either test drive one or rent one for the day and just experience it. And the guy's like, what? He just do it. Just do it. So the next week, they get back on the call. And he says, yeah. He says, I went down, test drove one. He goes, and what do you think? I don't want a Lamborghini. He goes, why? He says, I'm 6'2". Getting in and out of that damn thing was painful. Because he hadn't experienced it, he just thought.
Right.
And this comes to the keeping up with the Joneses. How many times do we go buy things we think we want without testing them first, trying it out first, experiencing it first? So I love the currency of experience, because if you go through life wanting to have that experience, I don't want, probably the biggest pain for me is if someone gets to the end of their days and they're looking back going, what did I really do with my life? Versus going, wow, what an amazing life I had. That's the difference for me. So that's 4 currencies.
That's awesome. And that kind of speaks to the Gary Vee example. And I'll paraphrase because this is a family show. But the whole thought of buying things doing a job that you hate to buy things to impress people that you don't even like.
Yep. Exactly. And I believe the greatest gift anybody can give this planet is to be themselves. Because when you're you, either people are going to like you or they don't. And if they like you for you, that's awesome. If they don't like you for being you, that's awesome. Because how much time, and this is coming from a world-class people pleaser right here. I look back at the time I wasted trying to be something else to make people happy.
Right.
And then the people that liked me for who I was, then they'd go like, who are you trying to become? And so then I would lose friendship with them. And I never understood what was going on. But the moment I became me and said, here's who I am, I'm still blown away today with the people that want to get to know me. The people that go, I want to know what you're on. And I'm like, I'm all life. But, because I live a full life. Now, that's why the calendar comes in so important, because there's times when I need to power down. Probably the biggest question my wife always gets especially after 5 days on stage that I'm doing training, I'm high energy on stage. I don't know if you've noticed, I got a little bit of energy, right? People meet my wife for the first time, and because I share about and talk about my wife a lot on stage. And first of all, it's like, you are real. And then the second question is he always like this? And it's on my calendar. I have days that are called freedom days, where especially like if I come home from overseas, I know I'm going to have jet lag. I'm going to be tired. I just finished, maybe 2 weeks in a row or 3 weeks of being on stage, 12 hours a day, plus long flights. And so the first day to 2 days when I come home, if we don't want to get out of bed, we don't get out of bed, because those are freedom days. Because if I don't take care of me, how can I do what I love to do? And so, and like as an example, this backdrop behind me, I just finished a powerful 2-day training where I had 350 students from around the world, 3 languages being translated simultaneously while I'm doing it. And I'm 9 hours a day standing in one spot. And that was Friday morning. I started at 5 a.m. because most of my students were in Europe or Asia. And then Saturday morning, I started at 4 a.m.
Wow.
And do you think I was tired after that? Yeah. And then, so Sunday was a day of do nothing, sleep, do what you need to do. So that's where the balance comes in as well.
But you know, the remedy for that could be getting your own party plane, 2-level
Yeah.
party plane.
Yeah. Would you write me a check for about 1.1 billion? And I'll never be able to afford to fly the damn thing.
That would be a catchphrase.
It's like, but hey, I got a plane. They just took it because I couldn't even pay for the parking for it, or even to have you're supposed to have staff on that thing. I know, it's crazy, it's insane, but what are you gonna do?
Well, actually, I know obviously there's a lot of better ways that we can manage our money. And you know, I heard you talk about the 6 jar principle. Could you unpack that for us?
Well, let's see if I have it here to unpack. Do I have it in a box? No, but I can unpack it. I'm so glad that you two are so much fun to be with, because there's some people would be like, what are you talking about?
That wasn't funny.
Yeah, right. That's it. When I'm overseas, my Canadian jokes just don't work. They don't work in Canada, let's be clear. But overseas, I still get even more like, side note, go to Japan. When they translate, they have to wait for a whole sentence because they translate it backwards. So talk about, I'd be sitting there, I'd be talking on stage, and then I'd have to stop. And then you'd hear them start to translate backwards. It was so weird, but it taught me a great lesson. Because at one time I'm talking and all of a sudden the audience just goes blank. And I'm like, do you understand what I'm saying? Hello? And all of a sudden I find out later my translator didn't understand something I said, so they quit talking.
Oh,
They just quit talking. And I'm like, that's not a good thing. And so I'm talking to them and I'm like, what happened? Well, I think it was a joke you told, but I didn't understand it. And so I had to go to what a friend told me. Here's what I told him. I said, next time I tell a joke, if you don't understand it, here's what I want you to say in the microphone. The trainer just told a joke, laugh, please. And from that moment, I knew every time they did that, because I get a bigger laugh. And that's when I realized just how many of my jokes are bad.
they weren't getting it.
Yeah, bad. Maybe it's a Canadian thing well, no, even the Canadians, Americans don't get half my jokes. It's okay though. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Too much fun. So what were we even talking about before?
Oh, we were
6 jars.
unpacking the 6
Yes,
jars.
6 jars. Yeah. 6 jars are just representing 6 bank accounts to really start managing your money. Because again, if you don't manage your money, you don't have money, and you've got to be able to manage it. That was a big one for my wife and I. It was just like, we have something in the account. Okay, I got to pay for this, got to pay for that. And so each account has a specific job. First one, again, wealth rule number 1, pay yourself first, is called the FFA account. Stands for Financial Freedom Account. And I'll give you rough percentages, and you, depending on your age and your income, depends on how you do it. The amount doesn't matter. And this is going to sound strange, but I'm going to say it. The amount doesn't matter. What's more important is the habit. The habit of managing your money is way more important than the amount. Okay, plain and simple. I don't care if you have $1. Go get a loonie, get some wire cutters, and cut it up into the little percentages I'm telling you to do, right? Have some fun with it. So in the FFA account, I would recommend 10% into it, right off the top. Before anything else, pay yourself first. This is money that you use for your financial freedom. You could start a passive income, buy a passive business income, as long as the money it produces goes back into your financial freedom. This is for your future, for what you want. This is not for a living income. So that's the first one. Second one is called an LTSS, which stands for long-term savings for spending. So maybe you want to take the family on a vacation. Yeah, most people, that's not just pocket money. They need to save up for it a while. So take 10% of your income and put it into your long-term savings for spending. Now, this can have multiple sub-accounts or multiple purposes. So as an example, you have children, I heard you say.
Yeah.
And saving for their education is important. So an LTSS account could be for their education. That could be one of the things you save. Family vacation. It could be for paying down past debt. Now, notice I use something there, paying down past debt. A lot of people, when it comes to managing, they think they have to pay all the debt off before they manage their money. And I'm just going to say, don't do it. Wrong answer. Because what you focus on expands. So if you're focused on paying off your debt, you're focusing on debt, which means you're going to get more debt. and you're just going to create a perpetual cycle. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So you can have a portion of that account that says, okay, every month, this amount of money is chunking off our debt so that we're not accumulating the new debt, but we're paying down the past so you can get ahead of the game. So these are the things you can do for that: car down payment, house payment on a down payment on a house. The key on this one, this is where a vision board comes in. Put it on a vision board. What is it you're saving for? How much do you need so you can get excited as it grows? Because excitement, when people say, well, I want more money. Why? Well, I have debt. Well, that's not very exciting. So yeah, why would I work even harder? Right? But if you sit there and go, I can't wait until we do that holiday together as a family. Okay, we're $300 away. And if I'm only putting 10% in, I need to make some more money. And all of a sudden creativity starts to happen in your mind. Because to put more money in one account, you have to put more money in the other accounts, right? So that's creativity. The next jar is called your education. And other than your financial freedom, this is, to me, the most important one. I love the universal principle says that your wealth will only grow to the extent that you do. And so most people go, well, why am I not more wealthy? Well, you're not willing to learn. So you're anchored, you've got what's called a blueprint inside of you, and it's set for a certain amount of money. And until you grow that, you're not going to get any money. If you get an instant win or you get a hiccup where you get some extra money, that's why lottery winners, look at the statistic. Within 5 years of winning the lottery, they're back to the same position they were in prior to the lottery. Even if they've won millions, right? Is because all of a sudden their mind goes, no, you're not set for that. Oh, what do you mean I lost money here? I lost money there. I spent it stupid there, right? So that's why educating yourself is so important. I will never quit learning. I'm on stages around the world, but I'm also a student in audiences wherever I can. Okay. So education is important. 10%. That's the one investment you'll never lose out on. The next account is called the Necessities Account. Oh my goodness, you're making me think, my one brain cell. With the Necessities Account, this is your house mortgage, your rent, car payments, haircuts if you have hair, all those things that are necessities. Now, ladies, necessary clothing. Repeat, necessary clothing. And I know some ladies are going, wait, it's all necessary. No, look, second pair, third pair of green shoes this month, not necessary. And I have fun with the ladies on this one, but some of the men just as bad. Hello, right? But necessary things. And some people go, for this one, how much would I put in? We recommend 55% of your income. All of this is after tax dollars, after tax. And so when I say 55%, some people are like, 55%? I wish it was only 55%. My wife and I walked into that training. We are at 100+%. That's why we're going downhill.
Right.
But a couple of things to understand. One, different accounts will take care of other things that you thought maybe were a necessity before. Right. But two, it's your choice. You're the one who decides how you live. There's no one putting a gun to your head saying you have to live in the house you live in, drive the car you drive, get the clothing and that you get. This is where tough decisions come in. When my wife and I decided that we had to cut down, we really wanted a different life. So we went from 100+% on our necessities. It took us a couple of years to get it down to 55. Today, our necessities are about 20% because we have a great life, but we don't have an extravagant life. And so with that, now that gives me more money to put in the other accounts, which is another benefit, right? How else do we create wealth even quicker? So your necessities, you've got to really be willing to look and take a tough look at it. Number 5 is the fun one. This is the pleasure. And this one is critical as well. 10% into this jar. But this one here, this one is to do things you'd never think of doing. Like going to one of those restaurants, when you open the menu, it does, because they're making it up in the back every single day. How much do we want to charge them today? Yeah, it sounds like this. Okay. See, this is one. You imagine, like if you're going out to a meal with a family is something you like to do, that's a necessity. This is going to the restaurant you'd never go to. And right. What do most people do? They get that menu and they go, let's see. They don't look down the left side of the menu. They look down the right side. Because what's on the right side? The prices. I'll have the chicken, please. And you're not ordering chicken because you want the chicken. You're ordering chicken because it's the cheapest thing on the menu. And that's all you think you can afford, right? So for this one, you have to have fun with it. You have to get ridiculous with it. You imagine going to McDonald's, picking up a Big Mac, sitting down and pulling out of your bag a bottle of Dom Perignon. People are going to look at you strange, but it's going to be an experience. And remember I said about the experience thing again, right? This is because this is allowing the inner child to play. And in all seriousness, how many times have you heard about people who've saved every penny all their life and one bad investment wipes them out financially? And one of the reasons is because that inner child never got a chance to play. And all of a sudden it's like, my turn. And it ends up taking and just really sabotaging them. So we have fun with it, but it's really true. The play account, do ridiculous things with it. Have fun, because again, creativity. As soon as you're sitting there like, I can't wait to do that again. Oh, I better go create some more money. And now to put in there, you have to put in the others.
Right.
And then the final one, last but definitely not least, is the give jar. And if you've been doing the math, I don't know if the two of you have been, if you've been doing math, there's 5% left. And of course, as soon as I say that, some people are like, whoa, minimum 10. And I have no problem if you believe that. But here's the thing. Have you ever noticed, especially it's that better to give than it is to receive. Have you ever noticed the people that push it the most are the ones on the receiving end? I don't know if you've ever noticed that. Give 10%. Come on. That's what you got to give. 10% right here. Right. Especially if you're financially struggling. My wife and I, we couldn't afford to give 5%, 10%, but there is something everybody possesses that's just as valuable, if not more than time or more than money, is your time. And so my wife and I, even though we were volunteering already, we stepped up our volunteering in the beginning. Today, it's easy to write a check, but today we not only donate, but we also physically go and help out charities because there's nothing like being there and we love animals. You know, one of our favorite places, there's a woman down in San Diego has a rescue society, but not just for dogs and cats. She's got zebras. She's one of the foremost zebra experts in North America. Wow. She's got a Zorse, which is a zebra horse. Picture a brown horse, but zebra stripes underneath. And it's so cool. She's got a Zonky. This thing looks like the zebra horse, but it's got ears like this. It's crazy. Miniature horses. She's got a camel. She's got peacocks. And going out, and one of the funnest things I love to do when I'm volunteering, literally, is shoveling the zebra poo. Because I'm in my glory, because she's educating about the animals and you're getting to interact with animals most people can't. And when you find out what this woman does, my wife and I are part of a few masterminds, and this one mastermind, we do 5 days, 3 places around North America a year, 5 days at a time. And one of those days is a day of service. We find a charity that needs help, and imagine 30 highly motivated people coming in and just saying, we're here for the whole day. What do you need? And, that's amazing. What a great feeling. So today we do both. And every business I start, it has a charity attached to it right off the front. Plus we give time. So do what you can. Give time and money. If you can't give money right now, give some time where you can. Don't beat yourself up if you're struggling. Get your finances straight and then watch how much more you can give when you've got the finances straight. So that's the 6 accounts right there.
Got it.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, how are you for time? I see we're down to like our last minute.
I'm here.
Okay.
My pet pig's in. She's warm. She's happy.
Oh, right.
My wife's at Costco, so I may not be happy. You know that $500 jug of milk?
Oh, yes. That's usually when I'm like, okay, you're going to Costco. Can we stay under the $400 limit today, please?
Is that actually possible? And then they go,
you know what,
you tap even higher amounts.
Difficult with 6 people in the family, but it's doable.
Right?
It's doable. Oh, man.
No, I've got a few more minutes. Absolutely.
Okay. I wanted to just chat to you about the sense and the feeling of being overwhelmed. I think that's, a feeling that many people deal with, with stress and then that lack of time that we talked about earlier. So what do you share with people on how to deal with that feeling?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times, first of all, understand why people get overwhelmed. And one of the reasons is they are 1,000 miles ahead of themselves. It's like, oh my goodness, I got to get this done, this done, this done, this done. And they're so far in the future trying to figure out all the what if scenarios and play it all out. If I don't make it there on time, what am I going to do here? No wonder you get overwhelmed. First thing I recommend for people is take a deep breath in. Let it out, come back to present. Because there's actually no room for stress in the present. And when you come back to present, ask yourself a question. What's one step, one thing I can do right now to move in that direction? And then once you do that step, then celebrate. Like, great job, nicely done. What's my next step? And so, again, I'm very visual. So if here's me and here's my goal, my dream, what I want to go to, instead of being up here already having accomplished it and trying to figure it all out, say, okay, if I want to do this, so as an example, I want to create financial freedom. Oh my God, he doesn't know what position I'm in. Sounds great. It happened for him, but no, he doesn't know my life. He doesn't know. Okay, stop. Take a deep breath in and say, what's one step I could take right now? Well, I guess make the decision I want to be financially free. Great. Perfect. No, it can't be that simple. Oh, yes, it can. But you see, our mind will try to make it more difficult. So keep it simple, because the key is creating, again, that habit. So I even challenge people, make your first steps so stupidly simple, your mind's going, what the heck are you doing? Because then you sit there, okay, I'm going to make a decision that I'm committing that I want to create financial freedom. Yes, party, woo, woo, celebrate it, anchor it in. Okay, so what's another step I can do? Well, he just taught me about the 6 accounts. So I'm going to just take a piece of paper and I'm going to write those 6 titles. Okay, good. As soon as you write the titles, celebrate that you did that. That's a step. The mind will then go, no, that's too easy. Stop, thank you, get lost. I did it, yes, anchor it. And then just take one more step. That's why they say success comes one step at a time. Mm-hmm. And as you take those little steps, now all of a sudden you get in the habit where you sit there and go, okay, next step. And all of a sudden it's done. You celebrate. Next step. And next thing you know, wow, look at what I'm accomplishing. And it declutters the mind, which then allows you, as you declutter the mind, you get decluttered all around you. Mm-hmm. And I hope people understand what I just said there, especially people who go, wow, my house, it looks like I'm, what do they call it on those TV shows where things are stacked all over the place? Your house is looking like what your mind looks like. So if your mind's cluttered, your house is cluttered, your family's cluttered. So if you can quiet your mind and just start organizing and taking one step at a time. And the biggest key to that is quit being so tough on yourself. How does that saying go? If we had a friend that treated us the way we treat ourselves, mm-hmm. they wouldn't be our friend for very long. But yet we take it from ourselves. So one of the biggest lessons I love to teach people is how to be kinder to themselves, gentler to themselves. I'm not saying be easy on yourself and just say, well, Robert said be nice, so I don't have to do that, and I'm not going to get upset that I didn't do that. No, you still hold yourself accountable. Mm-hmm. Or better yet, have an accountability partner. Because now when you make a commitment and you actually carry through on it, you're putting in a vibration that when I say I'm going to do something, it's done. And also the universe will bend over backwards to support you on it. And you'll be amazed. You'll be like, how it is I seem to be so much more getting stuff done and I'm not as stressed. Is because you made commitments, you broke it down into simple steps, and you're not overwhelmed because you're trying to, oh my God, there's so much to do. Yeah, there is. One breath. Okay, what's the next thing? Like last night, we spent the last 3 days making pig slop. My wife loves to make homemade food for our pet, Gracie May. And so she gets out the big pots, and she boils down barleys and rye and all the different beans. And then she has another pot where she's pressurizing all the bones down to bone meal. Another one's for vegetables. And then we put it in these huge white, those storage containers. Mm-hmm. We had 2 of those yesterday as the final result. And then one at a time, taking a 2-cup measuring cup into Ziploc bags, filling them, and then putting them in the freezer. She's now got half a year's food in the freezer, and it took some time to do it, but it was breaking it down step by step by step by step. Not sitting there going, well, I got to get it all done now. No, we'd work on some and then, okay, let's have a break.
Yeah.
Okay. Do some more. Okay. What's the next step? Well, let's get the Ziplocs out. Okay. Now, then as we're doing it, we're learning, Robert, using your left hand, you're making a mess. It's not going in the Ziploc. So, because we'd set up the counter the wrong way. I'm right-handed and here I'm trying to do it left-handed, right? So you learn as you go, and we didn't get upset at each other. It was like, if we felt ourselves getting tense, we'd laugh it off and crack a joke or something, or sit down and take a break. Gentle with ourselves, and that allows you to go much further.
Now, I'm curious to know, because we've mentioned her a few times, your wife. So what does she do any of the training with you today, or what is she up to these days?
She's like, Robert talks enough for the 2 of us. She is a behind the scenes person. When I became a trainer, she actually became the logistics person.
Okay.
So I'd be on stage in front of 1,500 people. She'd be running with 60 volunteers running the whole event. So we've been blessed to always work together. And so she does the logistics behind things. And so like even today, we had to do a complete turnaround when COVID hit, because I went from flying 200,000 miles a year down to zero. And it was like, okay, things are a little different. And one of the things we decided to do was, we had bought this beautiful acreage we're on 3 years ago with the intention of someday building our own training center. Instead of me flying around the world as much, people would come to us. And so last year we pulled the trigger on it. December 12th, we broke ground. And last month I got to start moving into my office. And on the other side of this wall, that's to my right, is a 1,500 square foot training center attached to the back of our house. She got to design the whole thing because that's the stuff she loves to do. And because I got a 1,500 square foot training center, she's got the 900 square foot she shack where all of her fun equipment goes in, because she's a very creative person. So she's, our quads are parked in there. Her tool chest is in there. Like, what do you mean her tool chest isn't yours? Nope, that's hers. We're turning our other garages into, one is my fitness center, and the other two are being turned into wood shops where she can do creativity stuff, because that's the stuff we love to do. So she's a work with her hands behind the scenes, let me support you person. Mm-hmm. And whereas I'm the, kind of the face up front, where I'm happy some moments, and then when I need to be tough, I get tough with people.
And with that right there, it just shows, successful relationships. I mean, we're not pros per se, but when people know their purpose and they're doing what works for them, and then their spouse is supporting that, I think that works so well. And you see, okay, this is what she likes to do, and she's amazing at it, and this is what I do, and together you guys have created this. So
and it's a journey. Is there rough days? Absolutely,
of course.
And people go, well, okay, because I am very blessed that way. We met when we were 13. We started dating when we were 16. We got married when we were 19. Well, actually, I turned 20 12 days earlier, but don't tell anybody, I'm the older guy. And we just celebrated our 32nd wedding anniversary.
Amazing.
And it's been ups and downs, because that's life.
Yep.
But one of our commitments is we don't give up on each other.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's anything worth having is worth fighting for. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, I will be the first person to admit, and she hates that I do, I would not be here today if it wasn't for my wife, because left to my own devices, I'd be comfortably miserable in a job, because I was taught that's what you do. Mm-hmm. But she's not willing to let me play smaller than I am. So it's a gift she gives me, even when she's got to sit there and go, step up, mister, you're playing too small, because I get stuck. And it's a gift I give her as well, because that's, to me, is a relationship. And so it's not always about, oh, look, you two are perfect. Yeah, we're perfectly imperfect. Yep. Hello. Spend some time around us with our pet pig and 6 cats, and you'll see how much imperfectly perfect we are.
Oh, man. Well, this conversation has been great, and the energy has been legit.
I hope I was not too monotone. And
no. Thank you so much. So we always love to ask, what are you working on, Robert? What are you up to, and where can we find you online?
Yeah, well, I'm currently writing my second book right now, which is called The Authority Key. I'm looking to release that early in 2022. And my first book, which is an international best-selling book, because I've been around the world, Success Left a Clue. You two have been so just amazing. And the fact that you invited me on your podcast, what I'd love to do for your audience as a gift from us to them, because I believe your time is one of your most precious commodities. And so not only the fact that the two of you invited me and took your time to interview me, but the fact that your audience listened to my craziness, the fact that if they're still here, they deserve something. And so what I love to do is, if they go to robertriopel.com, just my name, RobertRiopelMOUSE. No, don't put that last part in there. Just robertriopel.com. They'll actually be able to download the entire digital copy of my book, Success Left a Clue. Now, I will tell you, though, it does come with a caveat. See, I don't want people to get the book, read it, and put it on the shelf as shelf help. That's not why I wrote the book. And because step number 3, good, you got my joke. Not many people do. I love that you're laughing at that. So I wrote it as a workbook, and there's actually action steps all the way through, because step number 3 is take action. And I actually even say in the book, if you have not done the last action, stop reading right now, go back and do the last action. And because I'm quirky that way, I even decided to I have my own emoji. Did you know that? You know, I have my own emoji. It's called a Clue-moji. We got it trademarked, even though lawyers that own emoji didn't want us to do it. And that's my Clue-moji for those who can see it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that I would love for people to do that. And in all seriousness, absolutely all seriousness, if you download the book and you do the action steps, you go through the 6 steps I talk about, you will see your life go up another level. And you will be so happy for reading the book, because I love what I put in there. And it's me. It's me, my quirkiness. It's like I'm standing in front of you reading it, because it's me.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, no, thank you so much for making the time, Robert. It's funny. I'd love to have you back on if we have the opportunity, because there's actually quite a bit I didn't get to. We went in a totally different direction. So, but it was great.
See, I told you I talk a lot. I'll tell you what, I'll do a Zen one next time. I'll just be here like this. No, I'll tell you, if you ever invite me back, I'm there in a heartbeat. I love that you are doing this as a couple. I love that you like to have fun. And that's, to me, if I can add more value, I'm all over it.
That's so great. Yeah. And we love laughing. Can you tell?
No,
we
never
do
noticed.
a lot
Never
of that,
noticed.
I must admit.
Yeah, no shortage of that here.
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. For more ways to listen, connect with us on social media. To be a guest or to partner with us, check out our link tree at Disrupt the Everyday. Join us next time for more ways to disrupt the everyday.